Hey guys, Jeff Willis here, aka Darkside Smiley, for Best of the Best of the Best, and I'm here with my buddy Craig. And Craig is the owner and operator of Specialty Foreign Auto here in McKinleyville, California. And you can find them at 2330 Central Avenue, and the phone number is 707-839-7547. They service German, Italian, Swedish, and Japanese cars. I only bring my Porsche and my BMW here. Craig is the only guy that I trust in the entire area. But we're having a little sit down here and having a chat today about some really cool stuff. Obviously, you've been all over the place and you know quite a few like well-known car folks, but I want to hear some of your stories that we've talked about. The first one that I'm enthralled about is the James Dean car.
Yeah.
Can you talk about seeing that?
I was working for Johnny von Neumann, and John von Neumann was an importer in the 50s with Max Hoffman in New York, and he came to the West Coast and started Volkswagen of America here on the West Coast. Well, he told me the story, in 1955, he sold the 550 Spider to James Dean. James Dean traded in his white 356 that he was racing, and still owed Mr. von Neumann $3,000 when he was killed in the 550 Spider. Well, I was working for Wojciech Polak in Hermosa Beach, the Porsche dealer, and I actually did some work for Mr. von Neumann's 308 through Mr. Polak in the service department at the dealership, and I worked on his carburetors on the 308, and then after I did that, he asked me if I wanted to do some private work at his home in Palm Springs, 1505 Palm Springs, Rose Avenue, behind the guarded gates. And so the wife and I would go on weekends, and he had a 348, he had an F40, and he had other Ferraris and stuff in his garage. And in the corner of the garage was this vehicle covered up, and I never thought much of it till I was working for him for probably almost a year on the weekends. And I just said, Mr. von Neumann, what is that in the corner? And he said, Greg, have you ever heard of James Dean and the 550 Spider? And I said, yeah. He said, that is the Spider. So he actually allowed us to uncover it, and it was quite, you stood there and you didn't know, you were amongst history.
Yeah.
You were just, and both the wife and I just went, wow. And it kind of took you back, even though I wasn't alive in 55, I was born in 59, through the history. But he asked me if I'd just keep it to myself, and I have a video, but so I did. I promised Mr. von Neumann I would never say anything, and but he said he still owed him $3,000. So when he was killed in the car, Mr. von Neumann took it back, and he hid it for years, and then he took it to his place in Palm Springs, and no one knew it was there. Now, Mr. von Neumann passed away in Christmas of '03. Now, after that, I have no clue where it has gone. But no, I got to see it right there, with stains all over it, and it was, yeah, it kind of took your breath away standing next to it and looking at it. The history was just, and why I was able to, the wife and I just happened to be because I was working with Mr. von Neumann, you know.
Right place at the right time.
Right place at the right time.
Gosh, that's got to be, I mean, it's got to be amazing to see, but then the morbidity of it is, it's got to...
And that was 1989.
Got to hit you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Just
and you worked for him for quite a while, right?
I worked for Wojciech Polak, the dealership, and then on weekends, I would go up to Mr. von Neumann, and Mr. von Neumann and Mr. Polak were very close. Mr. von Neumann was a billionaire, so I asked him, I said, what happens if Mr. Polak finds out that I'm out here? He said, Craig, he will not bother you one bit, not a bit. And he never did. But I work on his Ferraris out there in his air conditioning garage. It was quite a neat feat.
And did you see at that time, were you kind of part of like the racing? I was
on Mr. Polak's race team, the vintage stuff. All the Can-Am stuff was over, and in the late 80s, we did the vintage racing. We took the 908 out to Willow Springs. I went around Riverside when Riverside was still there, in the 917 when Jackie X was driving. Wow. That was cars that nobody would ever see. These were just incredible. Moby Dick was a 935, a white 935 that Mr. Pollock owned.
Mm-hmm.
So it was great to be in that experience. There's no question about it.
Of course.
No question. And then he made me the shop foreman of the dealership, and I was there for probably 8 years total, and just a wonderful time. I even though I've had my own business here now for 29 years, I do miss that dealership because they were really good to me. They really were. You had to work. I mean, it was, but I got to see all the 911s that I got to experience on it, and I love the vintage cars. I love anything 356s all the way through the 911s. You know, some of the newer cars are okay, but I don't believe a real Porsche is a water-cooled Porsche. A real Porsche is an air-cooled.
Air-cooled, yeah. And I'm sure you got to meet a lot of interesting personalities and maybe celebrities.
Oh no, I'm very close friends with Steve Sachs, who played second base for the Dodgers. He had a 928 that I worked on for years. I put the sound system in Slash's 911.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That must have been that's important.
Oh yeah.
To put a sound system in because you're a musician as well.
He was there. Yeah, he was there for a whole week.
Wow.
You know, and
did you guys play guitar together?
Oh no, we didn't. But he'd come in every once in a while and see the progress. You know.
Okay.
Super nice guy. Super nice
guy. I've actually met him too when I was working in Hollywood. Very nice guy.
Ken Berry, who played F Troop and Mama's Family, brought his 928. I got to work on Ken Berry's 928. Michael Jackson's brother, I think it was Jermaine, had a 928 that I worked on. I mean, there was a lot of people that had come into that dealership because it's right there in the Mecca, Hermosa Beach. You're pretty close to maybe 25 miles from Hollywood. You know, you're on the beach.
Oh, yeah.
Right on the beach. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, what are I'm trying to think of the other questions we had talked about. What's, I guess, the wildest experience you've had in a car, like the craziest Porsche that you've ever driven?
Well, when they allowed me to sit on a milk crate and go around Riverside in the 917.
That's what I was.
Jackie Hicks was driving, and they said, keep your head back on the monocoque there, and he accelerated from like 60 to 260, and it was such G-forces on my body that when they pulled back into the pits, I was ready to lose it. So I had to get out for 20 minutes just to sit down. I was not used to the G-forces.
On a milk crate.
I'm sitting on a milk crate, and next to Jackie Hicks.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you also, just as a note to everybody that's watching, if anybody has a 928, I do. I have a 1989 28, and Craig is the only person that really knows his stuff about 928s. I've been to other, nothing bad to say about them, but there's a lot of them that work on 911s, some that work on 356s, but especially in this area in Northern California, you're the guy to go to for 928s.
Yeah, I've worked on a lot of them, the 32 valvers and the 4-cammers and stuff, and so it's been I got to work with Mr. Pollock on the 550 Spiders, the 4-cam 2-liter Carreras.
Wow.
He was the king of that, man. Mr. Pollock, Voshik himself, was the 550 man. Boy, he was just incredible. Because you could get that. That was the 547 engine. You could get that in the 2-liter 356 Carreras.
Okay.
You could get that engine. So it's not just to the 550 Spider, but it's the 4-cam Carrera motor. 210 horse. I mean, it was just
nice. Driven
by king shafts. It's no chains, but it had a whine. It was incredible whine.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, multiple carburation, so I still do that. I send carburetors all over the world. I rebuild them right here in the shop. Solexes, Webers, Zeniths, rebush them and send them all over.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to come up to a shop, if you go in the back there, it's basically like a classic car showroom in the back because so many people bring all their fancy cars here. You and I also share a really cool bond that we are both men of faith.
Amen.
And I was just chatting with you earlier about yesterday I was watching Joel Osteen, who's a big inspiration of mine, and he was talking about the importance of surrounding yourself with good, like-minded people. And I assume that you have realized the same thing over the years.
Oh yeah, there's no question. I dearly love the Lord, and I have a music ministry that I've been through many churches. I still do special music. I tour with Glenn Campbell's oldest daughter, Debbie, for the last 5 years. So we do tributes to Glenn Campbell, which was probably, I'm telling you, the the greatest entertainer, guitar player, bar none, I've ever been around. Was able to sit with Glenn in the early 90s at Branson, Missouri at the Grand Palace.
Branson, that's awesome.
And wonderful time. But his oldest daughter, Debbie, who toured and sang with Dad for 25 years, was just a wonderful lady. We've had some wonderful times. We've done quite a few concerts in the last 5 years, and still touring with her, you know. But yeah, I mean, I love Jesus is my personal Savior and Lord, and there's no question. Without Him, I've been very blessed, and the Lord is just, blessed me immensely. I've been married 40 years, 3 wonderful kids, you know, and I put my faith in Him, and He leads my path, you know.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
It's I would say somewhat rare these days to find someone who not only is strong in their faith, but who is interested in talking about it and sharing it, because it's something that's not as prevalent as maybe it used to be.
This is true.
That's why one of my favorite football players, Brock Purdy, I really appreciate him, because people kind of give you a little flack sometimes for standing up for something that you believe is good and brings joy and value to your life. But I'm not afraid of it.
No, I think, believe it, I think Tim Tebow got a bad deal. Here's a wonderful, and he may have gone. Who's to say how far?
Yeah.
I mean,
Who knows?
I don't know, but the NFL, not for long.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for even just chatting with me for a little bit here, and maybe we'll be able to do a little more on maybe a little series or something to get some more information. So if you guys are interested and you're in Northern California, Specialty Foreign Auto is where you need to come. Craig is the owner and the operator. He doesn't just sit back and look. He's out there wrenching, and he's got grease on him, and he's part of the whole machine and part of the whole experience. So 2330 Central Avenue, McKinleyville, California, 707-839-7547. And as a note, it's right off of the 101. So if you're on maybe a run, or if you're just traveling from Oregon to California or vice versa, and you need work on any of your German autos or Swedish or Japanese, this is the place to do it. Come see Craig. He'll take care of you. Have a good one.